What's going on, people? Welcome back to the United Stand. My name is Maud, and we have another midweek Wednesday afternoon show. How is everyone doing? How are you all feeling? You know what? I feel good. United have made me feel good. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been in this enjoyable mood because of United. So look, I'm very, very happy. But how are you guys feeling? Are you still excited over the past result this weekend? Maybe you're still buzzing over the City result. I don't know, but I feel good about United. But there's so much news that's been coming out over the last couple of days, which I'm going to bring to you guys, and we're going to discuss them. I really like to keep these shows very interactive because I really want to know your opinion. I like to understand what the United fan base is thinking when it comes to certain topics. So yeah, we're going to go through everything today. There's loads of stuff coming out. Rashford and Casado. Could it be a potential swap deal? There's been some news coming out about that. What do you think about that? Is there any other players in that Barcelona team that you think can maybe find a way into this United team? Also, United a bit unconvinced about the Xerxes deal. There's going to be some news about Xerxes' loan. I know it seemed like it was already done. It seemed like they'd already agreed with Xerxes and Roma that it was going to be done, but there are some new reports coming out about that as well. Also, new striker. There's a new striker hunt, a Brazilian striker. I'm going to bring him to you and we can discuss him. If anyone knows a little bit about him, then obviously let us know in the chat as well. And also, the club has released some statement based on how much money that we've lost over the last few years. Apparently, we are broke, yeah? Apparently, we are very, very, very broke. To be fair, they've been saying that for a while, but there's been some news on that, so I'm going to bring my opinions. And also, there's actually quite a few, there's two more things. It might be a little bit of might have to go through a few of these topics pretty quickly because I really want to get everything out to you. But there's been some comments on De Zerbi potentially being the next manager for Manchester United. And lastly, comments on Harry Maguire. Jaap Stam, the legend, the GOAT, Jaap Stam has spoken about Harry Maguire, so I'm going to bring that information to you as well. So like I said, make sure you stay locked in, send in all your super chats on any topics that you want to bring into the show, any topics that you want to discuss, and we're going to go through all of it today. So first of all, like I mentioned before, Barcelona, Rashford and Casado. So Casado is a midfielder, very young, 22 years old for Barcelona. And obviously, as we know, Rashford is over there on loan. Oh, sorry. Sorry. So Rashford is over there on loan, and there's obviously been conversations about how about Hansi Flick potentially wanting to sign him on a permanent deal. Now, one of the ways that we could have done that is potentially looking at a little bit of a swap deal with one of their players, and maybe even an additional whatever the money is, or whatever the potential money is, to go and make that deal happen. So I'm just going to give a little bit of stats on how Rashford is doing. If you don't know, if you've not been paying attention to what Barcelona results. So Rashford has 8 goals and 12 assists so far this season for Barcelona. He's actually doing all right. I know there's some reports out there that people think he's not doing okay, and maybe because he might not start a couple games. The reality is Barcelona have a very, very good team, a very, very good squad, and they've got players that can come in and out of the team very easily and make things happen. So Rashford has been doing pretty well over there, and they are actually on the hunt to win everything. You know, they've already won a trophy so far this season against Real Madrid in the final. They've got the Champions League. They're top of the league in La Liga. They're doing very, very, very well. So they're on the hunt to win everything. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens at the end of the season, especially when it concerns Rashford. If Barcelona do go on to win quite a few trophies, and Rashford is very instrumental, Barcelona might say, you know what, whatever you want for him, we'll pay it, because you know it is going to be a huge season for them. But Casado, the 22-year-old DM, he's been linked with Atletico, he's been linked with Wolves. He's been seen as like a very good young replacement for Casemiro, considering that Casemiro has announced that he's done. He has announced that he's going to be leaving at the end of the season. We need to find someone who is going to replace him. Now, as you guys already know, we've got the likes of Elliot Anderson. We've got the likes of Adam Wharton and Carlos Baleba. These players that are already been heavily linked to United. But the reality is we're going to need at least 2. In fact, we're probably going to need 3. Let's be honest. We're probably going to need 3 midfielders in the summer because, you know, if Casemiro, well, when Casemiro does leave, because he is going to leave, you know, Bruno Fernandes, as much as I love Bruno, we don't really know the future of Bruno. There has obviously been reports about him having that the move to Saudi and other big clubs across Europe are looking at him. So that's another player that is on the cards as to whether or not he stays. And then if you look at just our other midfielders that are available, we've got Kobbie Mainoo and Ugarte, and I guess maybe Collier, that you can say. But other than that, we don't have many midfielders, especially in that pivot role. So we're probably, in my opinion, I think United sign 3 midfielders. I think we need to get 2 very, very good, strong, certified midfielders that can start today, that can go into this team and play today, and then maybe one other midfielder that we can bring in and out of the team, and it can be a bit of more of a rotational player, maybe for cup games. But I think we need at least 2 or 3, in my opinion. But look, Casado was one of those players that was on the horizon that we could have brought him in. But Hansi Flick did speak out recently and say, he said there is no question of Casado leaving. We need everyone. So Hansi Flick really wants him to stay in the team. And bear in mind, Casado doesn't start every single game for Barcelona. In fact, a lot of the times he's just on the bench. He started the last game when they won 3-0. But before that, he was on the bench for like 3 games in a row. So he is a rotational player for Barcelona. And if he was to come to United, he would probably start a little bit more. Now, he has also said as well that if he was to leave, he would rather move outside of Spain and go look at a team maybe in the Premier League. So look, there's still loads of conversations around that debate and that transfer. In my opinion, if we are going to obviously let go of Rashford to Barcelona, it would make a lot of sense that we do a little bit of a spot deal and see if we can bring somebody back in. But who else in that Barcelona team do you feel like we could bring in? Do you feel like, I know obviously, like I said, Casado, what about Dani Olmo? Is that another player that you guys are looking at? There's a few other players in there, but let me know in the chat, what other players do you feel like we might be able to bring in from that Barcelona team? Maybe some players that other people might not even know. But yeah, I think somebody said in the chat that he's weak physically. Interesting. Look, he's obviously young. He's 21, 22 years old. And I guess in that DM position, especially in the Premier League, you need to be strong. You really do need to have a little bit of physicality about you. I saw an interview from, who's the Newcastle player that I just saw it from? Anthony Gordon. And they were asking him about the difference between the Premier League and the Champions League. And he said, look, the Premier League is just all physicality. It's all about set pieces. It's all about winning all of your duels. It's all about who's the fastest, who's the strongest. Whereas Champions League football, pretty much European football, is more tactical. It's more, let's play football. The Premier League has gone down the path of, if you have the strongest, fastest, tallest, most physical players, you just have the best advantage against everybody else. And I think that's why you see teams like Arsenal doing well, because they've got big centre-backs, they've got strong midfielders and all these kind of players who really can dominate in those positions. So, yeah, I do think we need to be looking at players who fit that profile. We do want to bring in players that can handle the physicality of the Premier League and, be able to compete at this level right now. So, but yeah, like I said, is there any other players in that Barcelona team that you think you would rather bring in? Somebody said, obviously, Yildiz doesn't play for Barcelona, but that is another good player who I don't know if United are looking at him, but I know there's definitely going to be a lot of teams across Europe that are looking at Yildiz. But anyway, look, moving on, that is a conversation between Rashford and Casado for Barcelona, if we could potentially do a swap deal. But there's some more news, which actually came out recently about the finances of the club. Manchester United's finances. And as we all know, Jim Ratcliffe did come out and say, what was it, 2 years ago? We're broke. We were gonna go bankrupt, and he tried to make it seem like he saved United because we were gonna go bankrupt. I don't believe that, but that's just what they say. But anyway, Andy Mitten pretty much spoke up, made a report recently on if United will make any signings in the last days of the January transfer window. Bear in mind, it's the 28th of January. It's the 28th of January. We have until the 2nd of February. Some people don't know this. We actually have until the 2nd of February to actually finalise any deals. But this is what Andy Mitten said. He said, I will be very surprised if anybody new came in for several reasons. Money is tight at Manchester United. United don't have a huge number of games to tempt players in, and there's already issues with players not getting matches due to a lack of games. If any of the main summer targets become available, United would move, but I wouldn't expect any of the main targets to become available. Long story short, we're not bringing in anyone. That's pretty much what I'm hearing. United are not bringing in anyone. And to be fair, this kind of even goes back to Amorim. This goes back to the reason why Amorim ended up even leaving, let's be honest, because he wanted players. He wanted players in January because he understood that we needed to have a better squad. The quality needed to develop. And the owners pretty much said, look, don't worry about that. That's up to us. We're gonna decide what we do, and you're gonna have to just manage. And it's pretty much the same thing now that the owners are not looking to pretty much bring anybody in. They're not looking to invest, I guess, some more money to bring in any new players. And for some reason, it's looking like we just have no money at all. But I can promise you this now: when it comes to the summer, we're gonna have some money. United just seem to have money out of nowhere, even though they keep telling us that we're broke. Last season, they told us that we were broke and we spent over 200 million on players, maybe even 250 million on players. So look, to me, it's a bit frustrating because we have the best chance right now to get top 4. In fact, we could even get top 3. If results kind of go our way and maybe Villa drop a few results here and there, considering that they are competing in Europe as well at the same time, so they might drop some results later on in the season. We have the best chance right now, considering that we've not had a great season. We're on our 3rd manager of the season. We have such a great opportunity to get top 4, and all we need really is just a few more additions. Because let's be honest, even though we are getting players back from injury, we're also getting players that are getting injured right now. Dog is going to be out for 10 weeks. Dog is going to be out for 10 weeks with a hamstring injury. We don't know what's going to happen next game, and players get injured literally every week for United. So for me, it's like, if you really are serious about getting Europe, if you really are serious about finishing as high as we can this season, January right now is the time to do it. And considering that we just beat City and Arsenal, that should give the ownership a little bit of a push to say, okay, wow, like maybe we can actually do something great this year. I say great, but we can actually do something unexpected and finish pretty high up. Let's be honest, most people didn't think we'll beat City and Arsenal. That was 2 incredible results. And to me, that should set off alarm bells in the ownership to say, okay, if they can do that, then they can probably go and win another 10 games to the end of the year. Let's go and invest. Let's go and put some money into the club, some money into the team, and push it as far as we can and hope that we can get a top 4, top 3 position. Because it would be very, very, very disappointing and very, very, very harsh if United, let's say we went and got another 2 more injuries and we didn't end up finishing in the top 4, knowing that we could have done that if we just signed 1 or 2 players in January. And then I guess that kind of just goes back to the ownership being incompetent, as we all know. But look, there's a few super chats in here before I even move on to the next few parts of the show, because there's a few more things that I really want to touch on. But I'm going to read a super chat so I don't get too lost in what everyone's saying. So the first super chat is from Daniel Thompson. How are you doing, Daniel? Daniel, you know what? You are one of the realest supporters on this channel, because I see you quite a lot on this channel, on all of my shows, and on also the forums and all that kind of stuff, and on Twitter as well. So shout out to you, Daniel. But yeah, Daniel says, hope you're well, Maud, and to you, good to see you, mate. Very, very good to see you. But yeah, another super chat from Eternity's Breath says, saying they're broke is just an admission of poor management. Sell the club. Saying they're broke is just an admission of poor management. Sell the club to someone who's capable of running a club properly. That's what we all wish. In all of our dreams, in all of our perfect scenarios, the club will be sold to people who just understood how to run a club. We don't have that. It's the most unfortunate, it's the most frustrating thing as a United fan. And maybe other fans don't realise that, but it's genuinely the most frustrating thing, knowing that the people who own the club that we all support don't actually know how to run a club. It is so frustrating. And they also can't even afford to run a club size of United. Let's be honest, the owners of United should be the richest people in the world. Like, the owners of United should be some of the richest guys in the world. We have one of the biggest sports franchises in the world. We're up there with, the Lakers and the Cowboys and the biggest sporting clubs across the world. United up there in that conversation. We're valued at, we're looking at around 10 billion that United are valued at. We don't have owners that can afford that. We don't have owners that are even close to that valuation. So we should have owners that are in those conversations, because they're the ones that can actually put in a heavy amount of cash, a heavy amount of money to develop the club. But right now, it seems like we have owners that are struggling to keep up with the size of the club. That's what it feels like to me right now. But yeah, 100%, I agree with that. Another super chat from Cafe says, I watch Barca a lot, their fans love him. I've actually heard a lot of good things about him as well. Considering his age as well, that he has not a lot to develop, but he's a great player right now, but his future is very bright. So if we were to eventually somehow get him, I think it'd be a great addition not as a main signing. I think we should definitely go out and look at a player who is already 100% starting every game and maybe Premier League proven, I don't know, but just somebody who we know can walk into this team and make a difference. I think that should be our number one priority. But if we were to go and get Casado, I think he'll be a good second or third option to bring in. Considering he's not going to be that expensive, I think he'll be around 25 to 30 million. Well, that's it. If they go and win every trophy, that might go up, But I think as of right now, he'll be around 25 to 30 million. Super chat from Kafir says, no one is touching... Oh, him. Sorry, I said him G, but I thought it was like a new player. No one's touching him. Any Barcelona midfielders right now, maybe De Jong, they all have ridiculous release clauses. You know what? Maybe I don't actually know all of their release clauses. I know De Jong is on an insane wage. I think he's the highest paid player at Barcelona, or one of anyway, like 350k. So even if we wanted De Jong, there's no way. We should be looking to pay them kind of wages. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, you know what? The thing with Barcelona is they've got a great option of young players all coming through. And the reality is, if they want to be dominant for the next 5 to 10 years and compete with Real Madrid and the other top teams across Europe, these young players are going to have to nurture them and kind of develop them at the club instead of selling them on. Because Barcelona aren't the kind of team to go and buy big name players. They have done that here and there, but they're more of a club that just develops their young players, their academy players, like Lamine Yamal, like Balde, like there's a bunch of other players I can't think of, Pedri and Gavi, all these kind of players. They like to develop their younger players and keep them in the team. So I can understand why they'd rather just not sell Casado and keep him for the next 5 to 10 years. But yeah, another super chat from Amit. Amit says, Bruno should stay next season. Imagine Kobe Baleba Anderson. I want Bruno to stay. I think Bruno is he's been so important and so valuable to this team. And I think it's been a bit unfair how people have kind of spoken about him and treated him over the last, I guess, couple years, considering how bad United have been. I don't think they've been bad because of Bruno. I think it's been more managerial thing and an ownership thing as to why United have been bad. And I think Bruno has been the one player that I can look at and say, you know what, if anyone deserves to stay, it has been Bruno Fernandes. But what I will say is, going forward, I think we still need to sign a player. I don't want to rely on Bruno to kind of carry the team. I'd rather us go and bring in players that can also play in the position. And at least Bruno, even if he is starting every game, it's not a case of if Bruno doesn't play 90 minutes, we're going to lose. You know what I mean? I'd rather we have players that can actually come in and still play in that position, because then it just relieves the pressure of Bruno a little bit, in my opinion. So, yeah. But, yeah, Kobe Baleba, Anderson, look, we could have a very, very good midfield next year if we make the right signings. A very, very, very good midfield. A lot of people saying Palmer. The Palmer thing is interesting to me. I'm going to touch on it a little bit. I just saw the next super chat. That is a hilarious super chat. Do I actually look like Upamecano? The next super chat said, from Chico Got Sauce, says, hello Upamecano, what's the news about Ndidi? I've been getting this thing from my first ever show. My first ever show on the United Stand. Somebody said I look like Upamecano, and I've been getting it literally, I think, every single show since then. At least one person says it, so you know what, fair enough. But yeah, touching on the Palmer thing quickly, I don't actually mind bringing in Cole Palmer. A lot of people are saying, we've got Bruno Fernandes. If Palmer comes in, he's not going to start, and they don't want him to, replace Bruno because Bruno's good enough. This is my thing with Palmer. Cole Palmer, to me, is the last piece of the puzzle. He's the last piece that we should be bringing in when we've got everything else sorted out around him. Because the reality is, if we were to go and bring in Cole Palmer now, one, yes, he is injury prone, I can understand that, but he'd pretty much be doing the Bruno job in terms of trying to carry the team. I don't see the point of bringing in Cole Palmer to carry this team. That to me doesn't even make sense. We should be bringing in Cole Palmer, this big, top level, one of the best, players in his position, especially in the league. We should be bringing him in when we've got the parts around him sorted out. And then we go and make that big signing, and it's like everything's kind of figured itself out now. You're kind of like Declan Rice in a sense of Arteta kind of figured out the rest of the team. He'd already signed his centre-backs. He'd got his full-backs, well, some of them anyway. He had Saka already. He had Martinelli. He had Odegaard. He had all these other players around him. And then when it was time to go make that big signing, they went and got Declan Rice and they spent 100 million on him. And he kind of pieced everything together. That, to me, is what Cole Palmer is. We don't go and get Cole Palmer this season because he's going to struggle, because we still need to go and bring in other players to fit around him. And it kind of just feels like a waste of time and a bit of a waste of money at that moment in time. To me, you go and bring in Cole Palmer in 3 seasons. Go and bring him in 2-3 seasons when we've got, we've got our centre-back and our defenders all sorted. We've got the midfielders that are playing around him all sorted. We've got the wingers all sorted. Then we go make that big signing, Cole Palmer. I guess you want to call him the star player of the team, and that's how we go and compete and go and win a title. So for me, I like Cole Palmer. He's a United fan. He's from Manchester. I think he's absolutely brilliant as a football player, super technical. I think he's got every quality that you would want in a player, but I don't think we should go and get him right now. I think we should wait until the right time and then we go and get him. But that's my opinion on Cole Palmer anyway. But yeah, quickly going through the rest of these super chats before we move on. I think there's a couple more in here. Yes, super chat from Renault49 says, I don't buy the lack of game time excuse to not sign anyone on loan or permanent. Maguire and Mount are on managed minutes. Ugarte and Xerxes don't have to play if they're gone in the summer, etc. There's 4 places on rotation. Let me read that again. I don't buy the lack of game time excuse to not sign anyone. Oh, okay, I know what you mean. Basically commenting on the reason why we're not signing any new players from Andy Mitten. Yeah, in a way, I understand it, because I guess you look at someone like Michael Carrick, he obviously doesn't have that much power when it comes to signings, etc. He's pretty much been told, these are the players that are in front of you, make it work. That's pretty much what they told Michael Carrick. Look, make it work. We're not going to go and sign any big players. You might not even be here next, well, there's a large chance that you're not going to be here next season. So don't worry about signings. Don't worry about any new players. Make it work with the players in front of you. So because of that, because he's not going to have that power, that's why I feel like that's why they're using it as an excuse. Look, you've got Harry Maguire, you've got Ugarte, or you've got Mazraoui, you've got all these other players. Make it work with the players in front of you. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're looking at, the fact that we're not playing a lot of games and saying, we've got a good enough squad, we've got a big enough squad, go and play the players that aren't playing right now. So, yeah, but I agree in a sense of, look, we still need quality. I think that's the problem that United have, is there are players that we have in rotation, but if they're not up to standard, if they don't have the quality that we need of them, then bringing them on doesn't actually help. You know what I mean? It's like, if it's a difficult game and, we might need another midfielder to come on, maybe Casemiro might get a yellow card or whatever it is, and the only midfielder we have on the bench is Ugarte. No disrespect to Ugarte, but if that's the only midfielder that we have, we're kind of losing out there. We might end up losing the game because we haven't got that quality to bring on. So, yeah, I do agree. I do think that it's more okay. It's not just about lack of game time. We still need additional players just to increase the level of the team. But yeah, anyway, look, I've got a couple cross promos that I need to tell you guys about, because there's loads of stuff that's going on this week on this channel, but not just this channel, also That's Football. First thing is Champions League. Oh my gosh, the Champions League this week is going to be insane. Every team is playing. I think there's 18 games or something like that. I think there's 18 games that are all going to get played at the same time. And, Mark is going to be doing a watch-along, a double watch-along. Realistically, he could do like 10 watch-alongs at the same time. He's going to be commentating on pretty much everything that's going to be going on. But 8 p.m. today, PSG versus Newcastle is going to be an insane game. And also Napoli versus Chelsea. Mark's double watch-along on That's Football. But as I said, everyone's playing. Everyone's playing, which means everyone can change positions. And I'm going to be locked in today anyway. It's going to be super interesting to see what happens in the Champions League. But make sure you go and check it out on That's Football, where Mark is going to be commentating and doing a watch-along on all of the Champions League games, but specifically PSG versus Newcastle and Napoli versus Chelsea. That'll be a double watch-along, 8 p.m. today. Check that out. But also Friday, Bundesliga Fridays. You guys should know by now, Bundesliga Fridays, what we do every single Friday on That's Football is we show We show the actual game, the actual live footage of the players playing the football match on That's Football every single Friday, whilst Marc is doing the watch along. So you can see both things. You can see Marc's watch along, but you can also see the actual live game at the exact same time. So on Friday, 7:15, Cologne versus Wolfsburg, live match on That's Football with Marc. Make sure you check that out. Also, Saturday, Premier League watch-alongs on That's Football, Leeds versus Arsenal at 3 p.m. And at 5:30, Chelsea versus West Ham, and 8 p.m, Liverpool versus Newcastle. Let's be honest, as United fans, we want them all to lose. We want Liverpool to lose, we want Chelsea to lose, and we want Arsenal to lose. We want them all to lose. So I'm going to be hate watching all day Saturday, yeah? On Saturday, I'm going to be hate watching everyone because I want them all to lose. I can say that, I don't even care. It's the United Stand channel, let's be honest. But yeah, make sure you go and check out all those games, the watch-alongs on Saturday. And then Sunday, the big day, Man United versus Fulham. Countdown to kickoff will start from 12 p.m. And Marc's watch-along will obviously be at 2 p.m. And then the fan forum will be straight after that. And also, he'll be doing a watch-along for the Spurs and City game, Spurs versus City game at 4:30, which is going to be super interesting. That'll be on That's Football. But look, that's all the promo for the week. Make sure you go back and listen to it again and write it all down so you don't forget, because there's a lot going on for the rest of this week in terms of content for United. But look, there's some more stuff that's come out that I want to touch on. In fact, I'm going to even skip a few things, because what I actually want to touch on is the comments from Yap Stam in regards to Harry Maguire, because I think this is actually a really interesting conversation, because Harry Maguire. Now, look, I'll be honest, I love Harry Maguire. I love Harry Maguire, and I can put my hands up and say I was one of the people that was very critical of him maybe a few years ago. I was very critical of him because, let's be honest, his standards were not of the level that we needed it to be. And considering that, he was the captain at one point, and he was supposed to be our leader, our main guy, and sometimes when you look at your captain and he's the one who's making the mistakes, and it is a bit frustrating to, I guess, for not just for the fan base but for the players themselves. But I think Maguire has seriously stepped up and taken every opportunity that's come at him over the last couple of seasons. And look, there's conversations now about Harry Maguire potentially staying on for another year. I mean, look, his contract does end this season. In fact, let me know in the chat right now, would you keep Maguire for one more year? Would you keep Harry Maguire for one more year? Now, look, my opinion is, look, if we don't go and bring in another centre-back, which isn't necessarily our main priority, by the way, but if we don't go and bring in another centre-back, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. The reason why is because, look, we have the most injury-prone centre-backs in the world. We probably do. Like, we've got Martinez, who has had 2 serious injuries so far, and he's had, not even just that, but he's had repeat injuries, which means if your injury can repeat one time, the way I look at it is that it can repeat twice, and it can also repeat a third time. So Martinez, as much as I love Martinez, he is injury prone. De Ligt is literally out right now. We were told that it was a minor injury. He's still been out. It's been like 2 months or like a month or something like that since De Ligt's been out. So he's obviously, he could be another injury prone player. And then you look at our other centre-backs, you've got Lenny Yoro and Aiden Heaven, who in my opinion, I love both of them. I think they're both great additions to this team, but they are rotational players. I think they are good enough to start, but every single game, I'd rather see them in rotation in cup games and maybe even European games and some Premier League games as well. But I wouldn't rely on them for the whole season. Then after that, you're looking at the rest of our centre-backs, we don't really have anyone. So in my opinion, look, if we don't go and bring in another centre-back that can at least be part of this team, part of the squad, Harry Maguire, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. And let's be honest, he's won us some games. He's been very, very instrumental, not just this season, but last season as well. How many winning goals did Harry Maguire have? The game at Lyon, the game at Rangers. Was it Rangers? I think it was Rangers. Porto as well. There's been so many. I've lost count. Even was it this season? I can't remember what season it was, but he's had so many game winners or even like equalizers. He saved us in so many games. In my opinion, Harry Maguire is a valuable member to this team. And also just that leadership, that quality. I mean, look, let's be honest, the last couple of games, Maguire's been a huge reason as to why we've been able to get the results, because he's been that experienced, centre-back who has kind of taken control. He's been able to manhandle Haaland and not Saliba. Actually, no, there's a video of him manhandling Gabriel, actually. But even like Gyökeres and all these kind of big strikers that are in the Premier League, he's been able to physically compete with them. And I think he's just he is kind of what we need at this point in time at United. So in my opinion, like I said, if we don't get another top or just a good centre-back, I don't mind it. But let me know in the chat, what do you think about Harry Maguire staying? I think there's a poll in the chat right now. Go and vote in that poll pretty quickly. But look, I'm going to read out, whilst you're voting in that poll, I'm going to read out some comments from Yap Stam, who, if you don't know who Yap Stam is, do your research. Do your research. He's arguably one of the greatest centre-backs the Premier League's ever seen. He came to United for 3 years, won the league 3 years in a row. I think he was in the team of the year 3 years in a row and left. Done. He came, was the best, and left. That's Yap Stam. He just came and did what he needed to do, and he left. That's literally what Yap Stam did for United. But these are the comments that he mentioned. He said, within any successful team, you're always looking for players who can give something extra to the squad. Players who are both strong mentally and physically. And there's no doubt that Harry Maguire is one of those players. In terms of his defending, he's always where you want him to be. He's shown that in many times, not just under Michael Carrick, but also under Ruben Amorim when he was in charge. I understand that sometimes you need to make space in your squad to bring in new players, but there needs to be a balance between experience and youth. Harry Maguire is the ideal person to stay at United, to play, but also to help his teammates reach and maintain high levels. Some very, very strong words, some very, very encouraging words from Yap Stam on Harry Maguire. And look, I'd be lying if I said I didn't agree with him, because I do. I agree with everything he's saying. So, Yap Stam, I mean, like I said to you guys, what do you think? Would you keep Harry Maguire at Manchester United for one more year? I'm saying yes if we don't bring anybody in, but I just think in general, I think he would be a valuable asset to this team. There's a couple more Super Chats in here that I'm going to read out before we wrap up this show. Super Chat from Kyle Robertson says, I want the bluff daddy. I want the bluff daddy, N. Diddy and Casado. I have no idea what you're talking about. But yeah, great Super Chat though. Great use of a Super Chat. Is this another Super Chat in here? Oh, Dale Discipline, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. How are you doing? How are you doing? But yeah, I'm gonna leave that Super Chat, that poll up there just for a few more minutes for you guys to go and vote in. But there's another Super Chat in here from Amit Up6 says, Maguire 2 seasons max. He's like Mountain from GOT. He's like Mountain from GOT. Game of Thrones. I'm so slow. I never watched Game of Thrones, sorry. I never watched it, so I don't even know what Mountain is. But I guess that's a positive. I guess it's a positive. But yeah, so I'm saying 2 seasons, not even just 1, 2 seasons. Fair enough. But yeah, like I said, I think he should be part of the. I think he should be part of the team. But anyway, look. That's been a hilarious show. It's been a great show. There's been a couple other things that I didn't really even get to touch on, but I'm sure whoever's on the... Oh, in fact, there'll be a show later on today at 8 p.m. So anything I've not touched on, it's going to get brought into the next show. 7 p.m., sorry. The next show will be at 7 p.m. And that'll be Marc, right? Oh, that's Marc, right? Marc, yeah. Marc will be on at 7 p.m, so he'll go through everything else that's been going on today. Quickly, just to round up this poll, would you keep Maguire for 1 more year? And the poll is 27% said no, and 73% said yes. So look, I think everybody's looking at Harry Maguire and saying, yeah, they want to keep him in for at least 1 more year. So let's see what happens. Let's see if they do give him a new contract. I don't think anyone would complain. I'll be honest, I don't think anyone would complain. He just got man of the match against Arsenal. A huge performance, so I'm not complaining about that in my opinion. But yeah, it'll be super interesting to see what happens at the end of the season. Like I said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. And I will see you on Sunday. I'll see you on Sunday for the match, for the Fulham match. But yeah, thanks for watching.